and welcome to another episode of Motors for the Masses. Now, Japanese cars have always been high on everyone's excitement list. Tight engines, bonkers looks and go-kart handling. Well, today we have an epic battle for you.
In the red corner, the 2017 4th generation Honda Civic Type R GT FK2.
And in the bluey grey corner, we have the 2017 5th generation Honda Civic Type R GT FK8. No idea what happened to 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. But anyway, in this video we will attempt to answer one particular question.
Is the 5th generation better than the 4th generation?
Especially considering most of these will be driven to and from shops and not around a racetrack. But anyway, having removed these cars from the showroom of Ling's Honda in Lowestoft, let's get started.
Standing in a glass boat at the end of a black hole, cold, lost and upside down. Faces swirling past me, all my memories rolling vastly. Beneath the ground, all done by my own hand. I allow my feelings to become sand. If you're gonna cut me down, better do it quickly now. Now you can cut me down, but I won't stay for long. I'll grow back again. Oh yeah, my roots are strong. This is not forever. Folks changing like the weather. Cold, wet, and all around. Toxic people being severed, like leaves falling in September. Cold, wet, and on the ground. You can cut me down, but I won't stay for long. I'll grow back again. Oh yeah, my roots are strong.
Let's start with a traditional top trump style battle. Brake horsepower.
306.
316.
Oh, 5th generation is better.
Torque.
295 foot-pounds.
295.
Oh, matched.
Top
Okay.
speed.
167.
169.
Oh, okay.
0 to 62.
5.7.
5.7.
Okay. They're pretty evenly matched.
Okay, sound.
Ah.
So, there we have the sound. Both sort of,
Uninspiring, really.
yeah. But we'll see what they sound like when they're out on the road a little bit later. Okay, driving modes.
Yes, the FK2 has 2 driving modes. It has a sport mode as standard and the Plus R mode.
Okay, the FK8 has 3 driving modes. Sport as standard, comfort, and Plus R. What is Plus R, I hear you ask? Well, Plus R reduces the control of the ESC and the power steering and firms up the suspension with stiffer dampeners, and
increases the torque range, I believe.
it does, yes. So again, we'll find out a bit more about that when they're out on the road. Okay, so what about the greeny stuff?
Well, the FK2 gives us 170 CO2s.
Not bad, not bad.
Yeah.
Also the same for this, so they're sort of green. Not really.
As green as I care about.
Yeah, me too. Do you care about greeniness? Probably do.
When you're buying a car like this, I don't think green comes into it.
No, I mean nobody buys a Type R and goes, oh, but is it good for the environment?
Yep. Okay.
Both cars have a 2-litre turbo engine with a 6-speed manual gearbox.
With an apparent 39 miles to the gallon.
Yeah, we all know about these miles per gallon figures, but you've seen that in other videos.
The 4th generation is Group 33 insurance and a 5-star Euro NCAP rating.
Whereas the 5th generation is Group 40 insurance and it has a 4-star Euro NCAP rating.
I wonder what happened there.
I don't know. And now you may be asking at this point, well, what is the point of the 5th generation? Well, the 5th generation is 170 millimeters longer, 190 millimeters thinner, and 22 millimeters shorter. It also has a 100 millimeter longer wheelbase than the FK2. However, it does have 55 litres less luggage space at 420 litres, and it does weigh 2 kilograms less than this chunky old git. And yes, before you say it, we know the bonnets sound a bit tinny, but that's weight saving for you.
Yet the biggest difference at this stage is the looks.
Now, we understand that this camp is divided. There are those that prefer the look of this version, but both Malcolm and I love the look of this one. Even in standard form, this new Civic looks amazing. But with this Type R, everything's all angles and stuff. It's fantastic. So, to start with,
let's have a closer look at the 4th gen. So here we are in the 4th gen. First thing I've got to say is the seats are absolutely amazing. They're super comfortable, super huggy.
Right, my back is extremely up against these bolts.
Yeah, when you give it a little bit of that and you're in the seat, you know?
Yeah, you're not
Brilliant.
Swallowing around all over the place.
Yeah.
Swallowing?
Wallowing.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's very spacious actually in the front. You've got a nice little carbon trim on the front here and red to match the colour of the car, and the red on the steering wheel.
And the seat belts and the seats.
Yes, it feels very sporty. So we've got it in standard mode at the moment.
Yeah, so sport, which comes as standard on this car.
So what we're going to do, we're going to go around this roundabout onto the dual carriageway in standard mode, and then see if you can hear the car when you flip it into plus R mode. So it sounds like it gets ready. It's like, hello,
yeah,
I'm awake.
It picks up, you can feel straight away the throttle body has done something. Slightly more roary, it's more bouncy now as well.
Yes, and then when you floor it,
that's not bad for a 5th gear.
5th gear.
Into 6th. That was from 40 to 70, no problems.
Yes. One thing I am disappointed with is the back seats, and we'll show you that in a little while.
Yeah, they're a bit dreary, aren't they?
Especially in comparison to the front seats. But in here you've got a very driver-focused dash area. Everything is sort of moulded towards you, not towards people.
This kind of almost heads up. It's not on the windscreen, but it's an area with all your information. And then down just above the steering wheel below that, you've got your rev counter, which, let's face it, is the most important bit. And then right next to it, the fuel gauge, which is also fairly important, as it can use quite a lot of fuel.
So if you go around this roundabout in second, onto the dual carriageway, and you will feel the pickup. You should be able to see the pickup.
swift.
It's plenty of smiles. Now,
right up to the speed limit there, that was perfect.
as you know, and as you may know, I am a terrible passenger.
Yes.
I get very sick very quickly as a passenger in a car, and I felt nothing except smiles and excitement. There was no problem with me feeling sick in that, and I think it's because I am well planted in the seat. It's very firm. You're not flopping about all over the place, and that makes a big difference as a passenger.
Yeah, I think it does. It feels good.
It does feel
It's
good.
a good place to be. You've got this nice display thing here with the stereo and whatnot, which I'll be honest with you, I haven't even looked at or touched.
You've got your G meter on here as well,
Yeah.
and obviously in here
around this roundabout, what do you think?
we have got. Oh, he's going to go around a roundabout. This is where I'm going to feel sick if I don't careful. Oh, we have hold-ups.
Oh,
Oh,
hello.
in the centre here we do have two little cup holders, and in here you've not only got two USBs, but you've also got a power outlet 12 volt and an HDMI slot. I'm not sure what you plug in there. Laptop maybe?
No idea.
So now it's my turn behind the steering wheel, and as we go around this corner you will see that it does handle extremely well. Now obviously I'm not having issues like he did, because I know.
Yeah, but you didn't have a car in the way.
No, so that was unfortunate for you. You had to brake mid-corner.
Had a little bit of lift off oversteer, and
Yeah,
that was a bit of fun, you know, as long as you're careful with these things.
exactly. And straight away I can see when I'm sitting here, it's very bright in my face. It is very much rev counter, speedo.
Yeah.
That's the irrelevant bit.
Yeah.
This is the important bit.
What I did like was the fact that you can see what gear you're in up there.
Yes,
Which
yeah,
is a nice,
do like the gear
nice
indicator.
feature.
But it's very similar to a standard Civic in its layout. This does have a CD player and a nice touch screen, and of course you've got climate control, you've got everything here. I like the way this is angled here as well, because it's very towards the driver.
One thing I did find with that is that, much like in my own car, I always seem to get the rear windows instead of the front windows.
Right.
And it's just placement. I don't know, maybe it's just I've got long arms or short arm or whatever. But I always seem to find a problem with that.
Okay. But when you don't drive it hard, it is very much like a typical family car,
It is.
with just comfortable seats.
It's a little bit.
It's a little bit jittery, yes,
Yeah.
of course. I mean, if I put it in plus R mode, I can feel the suspension get firmer, and I can feel every little knobble on the road.
Yeah.
And it jitters around a little bit.
Did you feel that the throttle changed?
Yes.
Yeah.
But when you put it in standard mode again, that softens up.
Just straight away.
Not
yeah.
a lot,
But you can feel it.
but it
It's
does soften
noticeable.
up. Enough to be a decent family wagon. Unlike my Mustang, which is
Yeah.
jittery constantly, simply because it's just got very hard suspension.
Yeah.
But this, it's pretty good. And then that happens.
A lot.
Now what we both found is that we don't get torque steer in this. You know, there's no pulling to one side when you floor it. It's really very well balanced. And that is down to that fantastic suspension setup.
I mean, if the road is a bit uneven and you're giving it some welly, you can feel it sort of tugging from one side to the other as it breaks traction or whatever. But
Absolutely.
It's very well handled though.
Even in sport mode, you find that, like you say, with an uneven road, it can jump.
Kick about, yeah.
But in R mode, it's not a good idea to go down a jumpy, bumpy road when you're in R mode, because it'll just...
I mean, I did it earlier on in this, and it's okay. I mean, it's controllable, but you certainly don't really want to be doing it. It's not a comfortable
ideal
ride.
No, not for if you've got the family in there.
Oh no, definitely.
And
not.
then of course it's sport mode and serene driving.
yeah, just tootling along.
always. Yeah. Well, let's see what we're at the now as far as miles per gallon. Smiles per gallon. Let's call it, shall we?
Smiles per gallon.
Smiles per gallon. We are looking at 27.6. That's not too bad. So now we're in the 5th gen FK8, and instantly you can feel it is newer.
Yeah.
Now what I mean by that is the seats are still very comfortable, still very figure hugging.
I don't think the bolsters are quite so big on these.
No, they're not, you're right, and the side bolsters are not as much, but they're still enough. I mean, I can move about in this one, whereas I couldn't move about in the other one.
Jiggle.
Yes, but it just feels updated. You know, the dashboard is more for everybody rather than just the driver, and the speedo and rev counter is part of one unit. Even though it's part of the digital dash, it's I don't know, I think I actually prefer the look of the FK2 as far as the dashboard's concerned, but overall I prefer the look of the FK8. What do you think?
I prefer the digital display in this one, but I do like the fact that you've got the big tachometer rev counter in the middle,
Yes,
which is in your face, and then the speed and everything's kind of
it inspires
separate.
sport.
Yeah, it feels nicer.
Now in this, obviously, we have 3 modes. We've got comfort mode, which we shall stick it in now. God, I feel like I'm going to fall asleep. Comfort mode.
Let's give it a chance and see what it feels like.
I feel comfortable. Alright, into sport mode. It was a little bit tighter on the corners, you can feel a little bit more bumps. And then R mode.
I feel this one pick up as well.
Yeah, I feel a pick up, but not as much. Now the thing with this is that when you change down a gear with this one, it blips the throttle a little bit. You can turn that off, but it does do it. However, when you put your foot down, it's pretty nippy, but it doesn't feel as rapid.
So that was 3rd gear, was it?
That was 3rd gear, all the way from 30 up to 70, and it doesn't feel as rapid, does it?
Well, I did it in 5th, from 40 to 70.
So let's do that. 5th gear, see the little boom when you change down? So let's go down to 40 miles an hour. Okay, so we're now sitting at 40 miles an hour, and then when you put your foot down in 5th, it picks up, but not as quickly as the FK2. I don't think there's much difference in speed, it just doesn't feel as fast.
Yeah, maybe to do with the suspension or the length of the car or the wheelbase or whatever.
Well, it is 100mm longer in the wheelbase than the FK2.
So the way the car dips on acceleration will feel different.
The stance is slightly different, yes. Now, obviously, we'll do the same as what we did in the other one. We shall go around this roundabout in 2nd gear. See a little woo every time.
I like that.
I like that, but some people don't. So we're in 2nd gear now. See what I mean? It does pick up quite fast, but it just doesn't feel as rapid as the other one.
And what mode are we in?
We're in R mode.
Okay.
So, having been in that and then driven this, that one feels sportier. I wonder whether
maybe
Europe has got involved and made this just a bit more woolly.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not slow, but it just doesn't feel as urgent as the other one.
No. If you pull away from standstill in this, I think it feels slightly more aggressive in that first bit when you get it right up on boost.
Yes, yeah, no, I think you're right. Like when you go around a roundabout in 2nd gear and you want to launch it, instantly it picks up pretty quick.
There's no
it says
delay.
the 3rd and 4th is a little bit less urgent than the other one.
Yeah.
You do get more equipment in this car. You get the wireless charging. Now, of course, the cars we've got are the GT models, so they've got all the extra stuff, and we'll go through that in more detail in a minute about what you get in a GT in compared to the standard R. This does have another cubby hole in the middle, but it's huge, cavernous even, and a cup holder, and sort of a USB port, but it doesn't have the HDMI. I guess nobody owns a laptop when they're driving this car. You've got the side pockets, but again, they're a little bit plasticky, although you have got Alcantara on the sides here, and it's soft leather on the dashboard. You know, it feels okay. You've still got the carbon effect and the red trim like you have in the other one, and the steering wheel is still a flat bottom steering wheel, multi-function steering wheel as you'd expect.
Something I've spotted with the steering wheel, the FK2's got a little red bit at the top, so you can see your centre thing like race cars have.
Yeah. I don't understand why though, because I mean, if you can't tell where the centre of your steering wheel is from the look of the steering wheel, there's something wrong. One thing we've noticed, as Malcolm just pointed out, is that when you're sitting here idling, it's extremely quiet. Now, for a car that's this bonkers with that triple exhaust, I would expect it to be louder and a bit lairier. Maybe not in comfort mode, but you would think if you stick it in R mode, it might go, wow, morning, let's go have some fun. But it doesn't, does it?
It just does the have some fun bit.
It has the fun, but it doesn't shout about it.
No.
Is that a good thing?
For some people, I guess.
Not for me.
No.
I like loudy, shouty stuff.
Yeah.
As a slight update, we've had a little look around the cabin and we found the HDMI slot. It's down here underneath the dash. Not quite sure what it's for.
No.
It does have a USB down there as well, so it has got all the same functions as the other one.
It's going to be some sort of multimedia thing, isn't it?
Do you need HDMI?
No.
No, me neither.
I just want to drive the car and have fun.
Exactly.
And get to the shops.
Oh yes, as quickly as possible. In a safe and
controlled and
legal,
well-mannered way.
Controllable way.
Yeah.
Quite nice, I like that. I like the little lights.
That's why I prefer this display.
You also have this screen here. This controls all your audio functions.
So what do I think of this 5th gen? I like it, but I think I prefer the 4th gen. I can tell what you mean when you say it feels newer. The steering feels different, the seating position is slightly different, but then I guess you could adjust that.
It just feels to me that they've softened it a little bit.
Yeah.
The thing that would tip me over the edge to buy one of these over the FK2 is the looks.
Yes.
It looks phenomenal, and I can't get over how fantastic this car actually looks. I love it, absolutely love it.
It is a nice looking car.
And
absolutely.
I do like this arrangement with the gear levers and the R button. I mean, yes, it's nice to have the R button that you've got on the console there next to the door, which is where the start button is on this one. So after you've driven this and then you drive that, you automatically think that it just induces smiles, doesn't it?
It's just so much fun, isn't it?
Absolutely.
This car is definitely more aggressive than the FK2.
But it doesn't feel it.
I don't know, when you're driving I think it does.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't think it does. I think it propels you there quickly. Just don't forget, it's got the same 0 to 60 as the other one.
Yeah.
I just think the other one feels more urgent. But you think this one feels more urgent?
Yeah. Maybe it's because of the steering wheel, I don't know, there's something that makes this feel sprightly.
Sprightly.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to hear any of you that have had the FK2 and now have the FK8. Interesting to hear what your views are.
So I popped it into comfort mode, driving through a village. It just feels like a car.
Yeah, it does. It feels just like any other car. It doesn't feel like it's going to go fast. It doesn't feel like it's going to launch you
can definitely
round and
feel
round.
it's got low profile tyres.
Yes, you
That's
can.
That's where your
yes.
harshness is coming from, I
Yes.
think. But
But it's not
quiet.
jittery.
No, and it's quiet. There's not too much road noise. I mean, we're doing 30. And That's perfectly acceptable. I like that.
Yeah. So that really is a big advantage for this car. It's completely bonkers when you want it to be, but if you don't want it to be, it won't. It'll just be a normal driver's car. So that is another plus for the 5th gen. It's not bonkers all the time. It can be sensible if it wants to be.
That is a nice addition.
I still think the other one feels more urgent than this. This is quick, and you can see it's quick, but it just doesn't feel as though it gets up to speed as quickly as the FK2.
But having driven them side by side earlier on, we know that they're both pretty much exactly the same.
Yes, I mean,
as in terms of acceleration.
This has 2 miles an hour more top end
Yeah.
at 169. Obviously, we haven't done 169.
No, but you're gaining that extra 2 mile an hour from 10 horsepower.
Yes. What you are getting is exactly the same 0 to 60. I don't know, I think maybe it's the stance. This one feels, because you're lower down in this car, and you're high, again, you do have the height adjustable seat, but the bonnet goes rapidly down on the FK2, whereas here you can see the bonnet, you can see the scoop. Overall, which would you have?
I think I'd probably go for this one. 5th gen is
Me too.
all, not all round, but certainly it has more points in its favour than the older one.
Well, it's the looks on the exterior that makes me want this one over the FK2.
Yeah, I think this one feels a little more comfortable to drive as well, and certainly getting in and out. I find on the FK2 that the bolster jabs me in the back of the leg every time I get in and out of it, whereas this one I can slip in and out without doing that.
Maybe they've realised that, which is why these ones aren't as deep.
Yeah, that is quite possible.
But again, it'd be nice to have a view of a person who's had an FK2 and now has an FK8,
Yeah, absolutely.
as to whether the upgrade was worth it.
And what are they like on long journeys? I mean, we've only had them for a few hours. It'd be nice to know what they're like on a trip from, you know, London to Manchester or something, you know, something long.
Yes.
So let's take a closer look at the styling. The 4th gen has the trademark bonkers rear spoiler and 4 fat juicy exhausts.
Whereas the 5th gen also has this great big bonkers spoiler, but this unique 3 exhaust pipe design. Now the purpose of this is to provide extra roar, a wider roar at low revs, but reduces droning boom at high revs. Clever stuff. And it looks cool. The newer car has 20-inch wheels with 245 rubber, Continental Sport Contact 6 over the older version, which is 19-inch wheels with 235 Continental Sport Contact 6. Great tyres, slightly wider, but they look exactly the same. And little extras like these roof fins, which gives better downforce and superior handling. And a new suspension setup. This has multi-link rear suspension, whereas that one has a torsion beam. Round at the front, this one still has that styling like it's been sat on by a giant elephant. Whereas this one is all very different, with lots of different angles and fins and carbon fibre and a bonnet scoop, and we all love a bonnet scoop. So inside, as you can see, a very sporty interior and a nice steering wheel and a great dash with that rev counter in the middle there. The rear seats do look quite nice, but they're just a bit sort of uninspiring. There is only 4 seats, despite the way they look. It does look like 5 seats, but there's only 4. And the back of the front seats look pretty sporty. Just doesn't look much if you're sitting there. Now the boot is not very long, but it is quite wide and quite deep. So that's where you get a little bit more room than you do in the new one. So again, the same red seats, but the bolsters are not as much. Again, these rear seats are quite uninspiring. They're okay, but they're just not anything special. But I suppose if this is where the passengers or the kids sit, who cares? So this is the boot in this one, but the difference is it has a slidey thing that you can take off, like so. So let's talk about some prices. Well, this 4th generation FK2, brand new, was $32,995. However, this model's now discontinued. So this demonstrator is for sale. It's only got 3,000 miles on the clock and it could be yours for $26,499. That is a bargain. However, this 5th generation FK8, also $32,995, but it is an extra $3,000 for the GT model, whereas this one, GT, is included in that price. This one, also for sale, being an ex-demonstrator, with just 1,500 miles on the clock for $33,999. And if it was my money, it'd be heading towards this. Now you could get carried away. With most manufacturers, there's always options to add on top, and this does come with a list of options which could see you putting an extra £8,000 on top of the standard price. So what does the GT model come with in comparison to the standard Type R? Well, if you want the GT pack, you do get a better stereo system with better speakers and sat-nav. You also get electric retractable mirrors. You also get key fob functions to roll the windows up and down, and you get wireless charging, you get LED fog lights and red bits on the carbon fibre. Oh, and you get a light in the glove box too. So let's put the price of this into perspective with some comparable vehicles. The 300 brake horsepower Subaru Impreza WRX STI is £31,995. The 306 brake horsepower VW Golf R starts at £33,365. The 345 brake horsepower Ford Focus RS3 starts at £35,795. But as far as I'm concerned, none of those look anywhere near as sexy and as awesome as this does. So if you're wondering why this car looks so good and handles so well, that's because they changed a little bit when they made the FK8. Now the FK2 started off as a standard Civic and they dressed it up with all the whistles and bells and made it pretty awesome. Whereas with this version, they made this car first. The first new shape Honda was the Type R. And then they dressed it down and made a standard version or a sporty version and other versions. So it kept the same awesome styling and the fantastic handling.
So there you have it. Our verdict is that this new 5th gen model is better than its predecessor, but only just.
Yes, comfort mode in this really does help if you want to just nip down to the shops and back. Sport mode is best for all-round drivability without jittering around all over the road, and Plus R is mostly for the Nürburgring, and let's be honest, none of us live there. But of course, if you want to go a little bit leery on a track day, or maybe on a very long autobahn, Plus R is awesome in both cars.
And let's face it, it drives fantastically in sport mode in both cars anyway. You don't really need it to have fun.
No, it's only that little bit tighter, little bit sharper in Plus R. And that brings us to the end of this episode of Motors for the Masses. Thank you very much for joining us. Please tune in next time when we'll be back with more cars, more bikes, and a trip to a Mustang specialist. Until then, please drive carefully, but have fun. Remember to subscribe, like, share this video, and we will see you very soon. Until then,
Bye-bye.
bye.